Hi everybody and welcome to page 3 of the FL150. This video is the third one in a series of 4 going over how to fill out the FL150 income and expense declaration used in California family law cases. So as we saw with page 2, up at the top here we have the same kind of header box, I guess you could call it, that asks for the names of the parties, the plaintiff, the defendant, or petitioner respondent, as well as the case number. So page 2, which we went over kind of up here, page 2 goes over the kind of the income side of the equation, I guess, how much money comes in to the person's kind of financial kind of health, I guess. Page 3 here goes over what that money is spent on. So let's go over that. Like I said, up here is the header box, pretty standard. Box 12 here lists out all the other people in the individual's household. So, for example, if somebody is getting a divorce or they're living with a boyfriend girlfriend or something, and they earn money also that the two of them can actually benefit from, that they use. For example, they pay rent together, they go out and eat together, etc. You would go ahead and list that person here. Typically, what I usually see people put here, though, is children that they're supporting. So, for example, you see that it says son kind of right here. So, if you have a son living with you, put down their name, their age, their relationship to you, and if they work, what amount of money they earn per month, and whether or not they contribute to the household expenses. This primarily is meant for, I guess, other people who could theoretically be supporting the person who's filling out the FL150. If you have minor children, you put them down here. The expectation is not that the minor children, for example, if your son's 2, that your son be working and contributing to the household also. So number 13, box 13, let me highlight that here. So box 13 is, as you can probably see from it, is kind of a budget, I guess you could call it, for a typical person each month. Now the categories here, 13A, right here, 13A, all the way through 13Q. Not all of those are going to fit for every individual, but hopefully this is a good guideline for you to start filling it out. Now, because it's general, as with page 2, you have to remember that not everybody is going to have a box or have a figure to put in every box. So, for example, if you don't have children, right here, box C, then you're not going to have any expenses for childcare, obviously. But all of this should be fairly straightforward: rent versus mortgage, property taxes, maintenance and repair, healthcare costs, childcare, etc. So go ahead and kind of categorize all your expenses in your head and put down what they are in the appropriate box. You don't need to be real exact on this, but you do need to be fairly close. So you can't just kind of make numbers up, if you will, but the thing is you have to put down stuff that sounds reasonable. And keep in mind that whatever you put here is going to be filed with the court, and also the other party in the case is going to see it also. So if you kind of exaggerate or take excessive liberties, for example, with your education kind of expense each month, and the other person knows about it, they could, for example, tell the judge. The judge will go like, "Sir, why do you claim, X amount of dollars for education? Do you have proof of that, etc.?" If you do, great. But if you don't, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble if the judge is so inclined. So up at the top here, I'm going to go ahead and try and highlight that right here. You have various boxes, so the thing is, regardless of what it is that you put down here, you have to kind of pick a scheme, I guess. So the thing is, are the figures that you're going to put down here, are they estimated figures? Are they actual expenses that you actually have experience and what they actually are? Or is the the budget that you put here, is that going forward for what you think you'll need? You got to pick one of these, I guess. To make sure, or to give all the figures that you have down here some context. So moving on to box 14, right here. As you can probably tell, this is for debt payments. So installment debt basically means it's something that you're paying on per month. So if you have a credit card that you're paying, or that you owe, like $10,000 on, you're making $200 payments per month. You have to list that down here. If you have a car, for example, that you're financing, whatever amount you finance per month, you have to put here. If you have any debt at all that you're paying down, go ahead and put that here and put in as much detail as you can. The more detail, the better, because it's going to reduce the chance that the other party is going to kind of, interpret something, you know, I guess nefarious, I guess is probably the right word. Like, the other party is not going to think that you're trying to pull a fast one on them if you're more kind of transparent in the information that you provide. So box 15 here, it takes up the remainder of the page here. Box 15, that applies to attorney's fees, as you can probably tell from the notation here. And if you don't have an attorney, obviously don't put this, you don't have to fill this out. But if you do have an attorney and you are asking the other party to pay your attorney's fees, the attorney needs to fill in this portion also and sign it over here on the right. And you need to basically disclose what it is that you're actually paying your attorney if you want the other side to reimburse you. So that's it for page 3. Page 3 is not real complicated, probably not as complicated as page 2, and probably not as complicated as page 4. And plus, I guess the majority of page 3 here has this budget that everyone kind of, it looks logical to most people. So that said, let's move on to page 4.